What's up? What's up? Welcome to the Pitchfork podcast for May 6th, 2021. Guys, I know I missed some days, but that's okay though. I'm back on my grind. All right, Diesel Bomber, welcome to the chat. I salute you, sir. Diesel Bomber. What's up, fam? How you doing? We're going to be doing a little bit of local news, maybe 2 or 3 stories from Tacoma, maybe a little bit from Washington State in general, but we're going to be doing some bad cop, no donut. We're going to keep the energy up all day long because we're going to cover a fair amount of stories so we can get some cushion, you know. That way I get daily uploads. That's my goal, daily uploads. I'll give you so many videos to the point where it equals out to pretty much daily uploads. That's why you get 3 and 4 videos sometimes in one day. So we're gonna go get straight into the news story. Thank you, everyone who's following me. We have a few new subscribers. Let's go hit my tone for a quick. Ron Easley, I should say. I apologize for getting your name wrong. All right, so we have a few more here. All right, so Diesel Arctic 1. Welcome to the channel. All right. We have another follower, guys. Welcome to the Pitchfork podcast. We cover a lot of news stories, cover a lot of general news stories, but we cover a lot of anti-cop, a lot of anti-government news here on this channel. That's something that we do with the regularity here. So, we're going to be covering several stories here. Several stories that are going to be spicy meatballs. Spicy meatballs. All right. Now, there's one story that I want to cover from my local state where I actually come from. I come from South Carolina. So it's one story that I want to cover from a resource called Fitz News. Me and the guy who runs Fitz News, we didn't always see eye to eye, but the one thing is that the more time has gone on, the more I understand him a little bit more and more. So we're going to be covering this story, and this story is from my home state. So I definitely want to cover this, but I'm going to be covering some stories from the state that I'm currently in, which is Washington State. But let's go ahead and get into this live edit right now. All right. We got another bad cop, no donut from you. This is coming from Fitz News. This is going to be a South Carolina police officer arrested on unpaid leave. Wow. Look at that headline, bro. It's going to be another bad cop, no donut for you from Fitz News. South Carolina police officer arrested and on unpaid leave after allegedly groping a woman at work. Wow, it's coming from Fitz News. The guy who runs Fitz News, he's a great guy. He is known as the muckraker supreme. And Will Folks, I'm giving you a personal shout out in this video, and I want to promote your news site here because he covers a lot of bad cop news in South Carolina. You guys need to definitely be following him. So follow Fitz News at fitznews.com. This guy Will Folks, he was targeted and retaliated against by politicians and lawyers and everybody else just for speaking the truth. He's a muckraker of the highest order, and me and him didn't always see eye to eye in South Carolina, but I like the guy. I like his work. But anyways, let's get into this story. A Belton, South Carolina police officer previously known for saving a choking baby has been arrested after he was accused of groping a woman while at work. Daryl Blake Foster, 33, was arrested and charged with second-degree assault and battery and misconduct in office on Wednesday, according to the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, or SLED. So once again, when people bring up these stories about police officers who are these heroes, and therefore we shouldn't be criticizing, you know, the police officers or the profession as a whole. Well, the thing that I want to point out to those people is that 2 things can be true at once. You could have people who are heroic and courageous in other ways, but then in some other ways they could be corrupt. Like, for example, you have people who are soldiers who were in some ways very, very courageous on the battlefield, but then sometimes they come home, and because of addiction, because of PTSD, because of mental health issues, because of financial issues, divorce, family issues, all kinds of issues that they may face. TBI, which is a traumatic brain injury that can actually cause violent behavior or a shift in behavior. You know, when those kinds of things happen, then 2 things can be true at once. Someone can do some things that are heroic, but also do horrible things. Even if you look into mythology, the story of Hercules. Hercules was a hero, but he killed his family. I mean, 2 things can be true at once. Someone can do heroic things, but also be a monster too. Because people have stages in life. People are not the exact same way throughout their entire life. People can shift into something different, unfortunately. And that's how things can happen, especially in a state like this, where there's so much protection for cops. And I've covered so many stories about South Carolina when it comes to police corruption stories. I've covered so many stories like this, and to hear stuff like this is not really surprising. According to arrest warrants, Foster slapped a woman's butt and groped her breasts on numerous occasions between October 1st, 2019 and July 31st, 2020 while he was on duty and after he was told to stop. He also sent the woman inappropriate text messages. So once again, this was a continuance, a long-standing pattern of this man doing this, and it's very, very interesting. I would be very, very interested to know if anyone knew about this. Because just like with the current sheriff of the year, who was Leon Lott in Richland County, there were children who were being molested, even a vulnerable adult in the Madison Bryant v. Babcock Center case, which is a South Carolina Supreme Court case. And even in my own case, my own personal trauma, he covered up rapes and child molestations. You know, and people still made him sheriff. And they even gave him sheriff of the year for the entire country. So I'll be very, very interested to know if anyone else knew about this. The alleged victim was a woman Foster worked with, according to a statement Belton Police Chief Robert Young sent to WSPA. Foster was placed on unpaid administrative leave pending the outcome of the case. The Belton Police requested that SLED conduct an independent third-party investigation of the incident after the victim filed a complaint. Foster's case will be prosecuted by the SC Attorney General's office. Foster had been working as a Belton police officer for 2 years. In 2019, he was proclaimed a hero after viral video showed him saving a choking baby. He was booked at the Anderson County Detention Center Wednesday. He faces up to 3 years in prison for the assault charge. Wow. So once again, if these things are continuing, then what that is showing you is that this is a pattern. This is basically not the first time that something like this has happened in the state of South Carolina. It's a relatively frequent occurrence. You know, as a journalist from that particular state, I've covered many, many cases just like this. And I'm going to cover additional cases from Fitz News, because they do a very good job of holding people accountable when our politicians and our Attorney General's office don't. And to Will folks and everyone at Fitz News and Mandy Matney, who wrote this article, did a great job on this. Very, very short, but to the point. Gave the facts, didn't give spin, gave the facts. Great job. And what we have to do as viewers of this content is support this content, not just my own content, but sources like Fitz News, because they do good work. They do good journalism. And I've interacted with the guy who owns this particular publication, and he's been through the ringer. He's been through the battles. So please give them give them your support. I will link them down in the video's description. And I encourage you to read their work, because even if you don't live in South Carolina, it's very, very interesting to see the corruption stories that they uncover, because that state is so corrupt, and people need to actually know about it. So once again, to Will folks and Fitz News, great work. Right. So I mean, I have a larger platform than what they have. They probably don't have as many followers as I do, like combined. So I give them a little bit of shout out because they do good work. I don't mind to give them a bit of a boost. DM Cosmic Chaos, what's up, man? How you doing? I salute you. Welcome to the chat. All right, we're gonna cover some more stories. Before we get into that, guys, we are going to have a 420 spoken if you got them. We gonna show you what we're having today. So this comes from Cascadia Gardens, and this is the Jack Sativa. So it is a sativa mix. It's a pretty good one, and this is what we're having today. So this is what we're gonna be doing. I think I might start doing some videos where I do cannabis strain reviews, because I smoke so much of it. Why not? Would you guys want to see something like that though? So let me know in the chat though, because I mean I do like to taste and sample different types, mainly because I don't think there is one particular good weed. Personally, I think weed is weed, but I think that there is more illumination, I should say. You know, it's all good. It's all beautiful. It's all from Mother Earth, but there's some that's more in touch with Mother Earth than others, and that's how you distinguish between the THC levels, personally, in my opinion. You can disagree. You can agree. It comes down to your personal journey, my friend. That's what it comes down to. So 420 smoking if you got them. 420 smoking if you got them. All right. So let's get back to the live stories here. Turn my jar back up. All right, so we covered that story. I want to cover some more from Fitz News because it's very, very interesting what they've been uncovered. Fitz News, they do great work, man. And I want you guys to see this because this is a crazy story. I used to work for the Department of Juvenile Justice, and I want people to see this. DM Cause Chaos says, "Dark revelation: Chauvin might get a retrial." Yes, I've heard about that, and I want to cover that too. But don't worry, I'm gonna get to that. So let's get to this story. All right, got a bad cop no donut for you, but it's more of a deep dive. This resource is called Fitz News. Fitz News is a local publication in South Carolina, and they do great work. I've interacted with the owner of the publication, and they are basically muckrakers. They expose the bad cops. They expose the bad judges. They expose all the worst, and that's pretty much what they primarily focus on. Now they do cover some other types of news, but they cover mostly this type of stuff. The stuff that you got to know about the state. So I would suggest that you actually follow them. I'm going to leave a link down in the description so that you can actually follow them. They do great work. But let's get into the story here. An incredibly dangerous situation. The fight to fix South Carolina's juvenile prisons continues. Many people talk about adult corrections, but no one's talking about juvenile corrections. And I want to use this story as a highlight because I used to work in this pod. This pod used to be for the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice ROTC program. This is actually a pod, and if I'm judging correctly, that is a pod. I used to work in a pod. I worked in juvenile corrections and also adult corrections. And what's happening is the Department of Juvenile Justice in South Carolina they are disintegrating. Children are being warehoused. Children are being abused by both staff and also other juveniles. Juveniles are being warehoused for the most smallest offenses. The schools are substandard. The healthcare is substandard. The treatment is freaking substandard. Children were being thrown in lockup. We called it lockup or ADSEG, but basically lockup. It was it was basically solitary confinement, and they were doing this to children. And I remember that I actually worked at the Star program, and that program has since been disbanded, but that program was made for the particularly aggressive juveniles, the really, really aggressive ones, right? So I was staffed there. And some of the things that I saw there in terms of just the lack of education, the lack of healthcare, the lack of structure there, the way kids were just warehoused. I mean, you had kids pouring out the seams. We could not find enough spaces for all these children. And in a state like South Carolina, whereas weed is so super illegal, whereas they will find reasons to lock these kids up. It's just a freaking shame, and that's one of the reasons why I couldn't work there. I couldn't continue to fucking do that. But let's get into the story. I mean, I know it's a big, long opening monologue, but it's a relatively short article, and I kind of want to give you guys a little bit of a background here. This was published on May the 5th by Mandy Matney, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite journalists. But anyways, let's get into this particular story. On Wednesday, lawmakers continue to review a disturbing audit of the imploding disaster at the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice, SCDJJ. Because of the SC Legislative Audit Council, SCLAC, found so many major problems at the SCDJJ, it took 2 hearings for lawmakers to fully review the audit report. To recap, the audit provides evidence of what sources have been telling Fitz News for years. To recap, the audit provides evidence of what sources have been telling Fitz News for years. SCDJJ is spiraling out of control as the number of security officers decreases and the number of violent incidents climbs. The audit is clear. SCDJJ Director Freddie Pugh, who was handpicked by Governor Henry McMaster to fix the troubled agency, isn't doing the job. Freddie Pugh, I met this man. He's not a bad guy. He's not a bad guy. The problem is that he's in over his head. Children shouldn't be warehoused like this. And really, he's just the director, but I don't think he's responsible for these cops who are just picking up these children, locking them up. I mean, stupid stuff like truancy. That's not his fault. He's trying to mitigate the freaking damage at this point. But at the same time, he's also a part of the problem because of some of the resistance he offers when people offers suggestions for change. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not even sure children even belong in a facility like that. I've worked in that kind of facility, and I have to say, I don't see how you're going to improve behavior by locking up children. I've tried it for years. I've worked at DJJ for years. I just don't understand how this is gonna make these children better. In a joint subcommittee meeting Wednesday morning, SCLAC Deputy Director Marcia Lindsay first addressed some concerning comments made by Pugh in the state's newspaper's recent report. Pugh claimed the audit was incomplete and often inaccurate. According to auditors, SCDJJ officials were given 10 days to provide factual evidence disputing the claims made in the report. Then SCDJJ officials gave the SCLAC 703 pages of documents that they believe provided proof to debunk the allegations, which were thoroughly reviewed by the auditors. I personally read all 703 pages, and the DJJ basically provided very little actual documentation and or evidence that warranted changes to our report, Lindsay said. We considered every single page that they provided. Instead, the agency disagreed that we observed certain things and disagreed that staff had indeed told us certain things. To be clear, it sounds like SCDJJ officials struggled to separate facts from opinions and were attempting to bend the truth so the report was less scathing, which is very concerning. Wow. So basically, they gave some facts and people got mad at the facts, and they were trying to refute it with opinions. So while the report contained damning information on the SCDJJ, one of the most troubling accusations was that SCDJJ leaders falsified reports on sexual assault reports and downplayed the severity of gang-related violence in incident reports. That is something that is a continuing pattern. Once again, I mentioned it in several videos, but even Richland County Sheriff, which is South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice, the main campus, which is the Broad River Road complex on Broad River Road in Columbia, South Carolina, is in Richland County. And that is covered by Richland County Sheriff's Office, which is the sheriff, Leon Lott, is the sheriff of the year for the entire country. Even he covers up rapes, right? I've done stories about that. And if you go to my channel, the feature story, the feature video on my channel, if you're viewing it from desktop, is the story where I covered it, where it personally affected me too. So Leon Lott, even the sheriff who takes these kids to this freaking facility in his freaking jurisdiction covers up rape. So I can tell you that while I worked at DJJ, I've also heard the same allegations years and years and years ago. So it was very, very funny to me when I heard about this. And if you continue to read the article here, I want you guys to see this here. Senators who reviewed the audit last month were not only alarmed that the SC Department of Juvenile Justice was mismanaged, they were concerned officials might have committed crimes. 2 weeks ago, 6 South Carolina senators sent a letter to Attorney General Alan Wilson asking his office to investigate possible criminal activity among South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice officials. Criminal conduct. Criminal conduct. I mean, you have crazy stuff, but I want you guys to see this particular video because it shows some of the violence that I saw when I worked there. And this is not unusual. I would tell you, I've seen this kind of stuff on the regular. It happened at Department of Juvenile Justice on the regular. I've seen this kind of stuff. I've dealt with it. I've had to do a lot of stuff, man. I'm gonna show you something real quick. These are not just some of these children, right? They're not these cute, cuddly children. Some of these children are built like men, like football players. Because I want you to understand that what Chris Rock said in that stand-up routine was not inaccurate. That down south, a lot of these kids are descendants of damn slaves. So they're big as shit because of the freaking breeding programs. It is not an accident that Zion Wilson came from damn South Carolina. It's not an accident that Michael Jeffrey Jordan, MJ, has roots down in the freaking Carolinas. It's not an accident that most of these NBA players, these American-based ones, if you trace their American lineage, their family lineage, it comes back from the slave trade. It is not an accident. It's not an accident. It's not an accident that I have a 6'10" wingspan as a 6'2" man with a size 16 boot, hiking boot. But I'm from South Carolina with hands like fucking catcher's mitts. It's not a damn accident. So some of these kids are not these small children that you might think they are. Some of them are fucking huge. But I want you to see this so that we can kind of put a hat on the problem. Look at this ride here. This is actually a riot. They actually took over the whole goddamn pod. Now, this kind of shit was happening all the time, man. And there was a lack of figure security. I mean, they were putting so many of these kids behind bars to the point where they were learning how to become criminals. They were making these kids like that. Department of Juvenile Justice has been sued so many times for doing shit like this, man. For just overstocking these children, and when you crowd these children all in one facility, what do you expect is gonna fucking happen? Now you see why I couldn't work there. It's just you're not making these kids better. You don't care about them. You're just warehousing them, and that's bullshit. Seriously, that's bullshit. All right, so that was another live edit I had to cover. Sorry about that, guys. That was another one I had to cover because that story is fucking wild, man. Yeah, that was what was going on in South Carolina, man. I try to tell people, man, that state is fucked up. I try to tell people, man, nobody wanted to listen to me. Everybody wanted to argue with me. Everybody wanted to argue with me, man. So we're gonna cover some more here. We're gonna cover some more South Carolina bad cop. No donut. Don't worry. We're gonna get into Washington State in a second. Diesel bomber. Don't worry, because I know, and I don't want to cover that for you. In fact, you know what? I think before I cover that, I might want to go ahead and do the Washington State first. 420 smoke if you got him. 420 smoke if you got him. All right. All right. So there was a few stories I saw in local Tacoma. There were a few. There were a few. I might just cover this story just quickly for. I don't want to leave too much empty space in between. But I do want to find a story that's worthy of being covered because I just want to give you a story. I want to actually cover something. So, if you guys have stories that you guys want me to cover, let me know. But I think I might hop back over to this other one real quick. So, I got one that I'm going to cover right now. When I was a kid, I always called jail gladiator school by Diesel Obama. Yeah, that's true. DM Cosmic Chaos says, I'll check them out. If you treat someone like a criminal, they will act like it. Broken systems. Absolutely, I agree with you. Let's go over to this last story real quick. So this is going to be a wild one. I think it's going to be a corrupted files, all right? All right, so this is going to be one to put into the corrupted files. Man allegedly stole COVID-19 vaccines, arrested. Pierce County deputies say this is in Washington State in Pierce County. So amazing. You have someone who stole COVID-19 vaccines. I heard of stories like this. I didn't know people were actually doing it. So let's get into this actual story. I don't usually cover stories like this. So even as a journalist, you don't necessarily hear about every single news story, but this is a pretty wild one. This is published on May 5th by Kiro 7 News. A man has been arrested for allegedly stealing COVID-19 vaccines from a dental office, Pierce County deputies said. Wow, so 100 Johnson & Johnson doses were among tens of thousands of dollars of equipment stolen last week from the dental office, as well as a hair salon about a half mile away. Wow, so this dude, he was just going on a shopping spree. So my question is was he just also stealing the containment equipment to keep that stuff in? Because if he was just stealing it and he wasn't stealing the containers to keep the actual vaccine doses cold or at a certain temperature, that he just ruined all those vaccines that could have been in people's arms. And I think for that alone, he should get major time for that because we are still in a freaking pandemic. But again, that's wild that he just my man just walking to and again, it was not a bad plan, I guess, because you went into a dental office, so who's really gonna suspect that someone's gonna steal some COVID-19 vaccines from a dental office? But man, like 100 doses, bro. They're gonna notice 100 doses going missing. Sergeant Moss with the Pierce County Sheriff's Department said Wednesday that a suspect was arrested who was believed to be behind both burglaries. Wow, interesting. That is ridiculous. So this man sat here and just stole all these vaccines from this office. And there's actually a continuation of the actual story here. Because I want to see if there's more to the story here. Experts worry about the use of stolen Johnson & Johnson doses from Purdy Dental Office. So again, I'm thinking this is actually related to the last story here. Let's actually get into this story. It's published on May 3rd. Purdy, Washington. Burglars broke into a Purdy Dental Office and made off with 100 vials of Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. Now, experts are worried about the vaccines getting into the wrong hands. My big concern is that if it isn't kept at the correct temperature, said Steve Vijalka, the interim chief pharmacy officer at UW Medicine. He's in charge of managing the precious COVID-19 vaccines during this pandemic. Notice how I said that before we even got into the story. So again, I was already thinking ahead because I know that you got to keep those vaccines at a certain temperature. So if that's not kept at a certain freaking temperature, then that's going to be scary because if people try to use that, then I'm not sure if that's harmful or not. I'm just curious as to if people are using the actual doses and what that's doing to them. though the Johnson & Johnson shots don't have to be kept ultra cold like the Pfizer or Moderna vaccines, they still need refrigeration. Once it's at room temperature, if the valve's not punctured, it's good for 12 hours at room temp. Once you start puncturing the valve, it's only good for 2 hours, he said. It's still a mystery why thieves broke into the North Harbor Dentistry office in Purdy, where they stole the Johnson & Johnson vaccines and other items. The burglars also hit a hair salon in Purdy at around the same time. The Pierce County Sheriff's Office is still trying to figure out if the same suspects are behind both crimes. So we actually got a conclusion of that one. Yeah, they already got at least one of the guys there, but that is so sad that you got people doing stuff like this, man. That is so sad. Like, taking advantage of people during the freaking pandemic and stealing the vaccines, and now those actual doses, most of them, though they don't have to be kept ultra cold, they do have to be kept cold to a certain extent. And I don't think that those people who stole those freaking vials are doing that. So that's so unfortunate. That sucks. I hope that everyone who is involved in this particular crime gets locked up and thrown away, because people need those vaccines. A lot of people's loved ones who have pre-existing conditions, senior citizens, sick people, old people, people's grandma. You know, and you ruin 100 perfectly good doses. Shame on you. Just shame on you. All right, let's get into some comments here. Diesel Bomber says, Dion Koski says, they used to pat us down at our high school, and all I did was teach us how to conceal things better. Yep. Same here. That's all it taught me how to do. I'm an expert at it. Shit. I'm a monster at it. 420 smoking if you got him. 420 smoking if you got him. I gotta reload my bong after one more news story. All right, we're gonna get into some more news stories. Maybe some more local from here from Washington State, because once again, Diesel Bomber has a point. I gotta cover some more state. I live here. I gotta show y'all some more love, man. So. Okay, so I'm gonna cover that one right there. So I'm gonna just cover this one just for the fun of it. So all right, this one goes into the corrected files. A Snohomish chiropractor arrested and accused of inappropriate contact during sessions. Man, the chiropractor out here trying to get some juicy action. Man, oh man. Published on May 3rd, 2021 by Kiro 7 News staff. A 61-year-old man was arrested Thursday after a long investigation by the Snohomish police detectives. The investigation began after several people reported inappropriate contact by the man during chiropractic sessions in recent months. Detectives said there may be more victims who may have yet to come forward. So this man's out here touching people while he out here rubbing on them and trying to get their bodies right. That's a damn shame. You can't even trust the goddamn chiropractors. The Snohomish man was booked into the Snohomish County Jail for investigation on 6 counts of indecent liberties. Snohomish police said no additional details are being released at this time. Anyone who believes that they may be a victim or has any information regarding the investigation is asked to call the Snohomish Police Department at 360-568-0888. Man, oh man, that is ridiculous. That is ridiculous, man. You can't even trust the chiropractors. Listen, people have been locked down in this pandemic for way too long, and the chiropractor said, hey, I'm going to crack your neck, but I want to crack that ass too. The chiropractor said, you want me to pop your shoulders? I want to pop them panties, you know? Man, oh man, you can't even trust the goddamn chiropractor. Ain't that a bitch? Ain't that a bitch? All right, we gonna cover some more stories here. Man, oh man, that is, you can't even trust the goddamn chiropractor, man. That's just, what is the world coming to, man? What is the world coming to? Yeah, I'm very, very interested about this story now. I know a lot of people are gonna be reading about this story. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let's get into it. All right. We're gonna cover this right here. Western Washington University to require COVID-19 vaccines for students and employees. This is from Kiro 7. So again, Western Washington, man, they're saying if you ain't get that jab, you doing distance learning, baby. And if you ain't get that jab and you a freaking employee, well, you've been upgraded to customer. So published on May 6, 2021. You know, agree or disagree, I gotta cover this kind of news because again, to many people in other parts of the country, this may be shocking news. Bellingham, Washington, Western President Saba Ranhawa announced Wednesday in a statement that Western Washington University will require COVID-19 vaccinations for students, faculty, and staff before returning to classes this fall. So again, if you're a student and you can do you got a freaking laptop, distance learning that may be an option if you're anti-vaxxer. But baby, if you faculty and staff and you ain't got that freaking jab, then it looks like you're gonna be relying on that stimulus payment, baby. So let's get into the more parts of the story because I'm very, very curious to see the reactions in the comments and beyond to this kind of news. The decision comes after universities such as the University of Washington, Washington State, and more require the COVID-19 vaccine for students before returning to classes this fall. So again, this is not the first time in Washington State a university is requiring this. This is the University of Washington, Washington State too. So also Western Washington is added to that particular list. Ranhawa said the decision was based on guidance from the governor's office, with the exception that the vaccine supply will continue to be available to everyone. So once again, he's placing conditions on it. But again, if you are a student and you want to do distance learning, sure. But if you faculty and staff, they just put the freaking hammer down. Requests for exemptions will be considered, and decisions will be consistent with Western's current policy for the measles vaccination requirement. So they're basing it off of previous things that they already have on the books. So that's the end of the article. But I'm very curious to see what you guys think and see the reactions beyond, because there were some people that I heard speaking around town about this, saying that, hey, I would just go over to Western Washington and I'm not worried about the freaking vaccine because those people didn't trust the vaccine. Well, now even Western Washington is added to that particular list. So where are you gonna go if you're gonna go to college? You're gonna do distance learning because that sounds like that's gonna be your only option. Just saying. All right, so we got another story. They're done. All right, so we covered that story right there. So I do want to cover one more story from Fitz News, but let's get into the comments before we do that. Let me go ahead and make it clear up my bong first. We're covering various stories, man, and I'm trying to make some a variety type of stories in terms of like length. Some that are minutes, some that are 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Some that are more long form, some that are more that I can just rant. But I want to give you guys a variety of types of content where I cover this kind of stuff. So let's get into the comments here. Diesel Bomber says UW isn't going to allow students without vaccine to attend. The way I understand this means all Muslims will not be able to attend. Yeah, I'm not in the Muslim community, but the majority of Muslims I know are black. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of issues, man. I can tell you, especially with a lot of these minority communities. A lot of them don't trust the vaccine, And how is that going to work with affirmative action if you get a lot of minority communities, for whatever reasons, don't trust the vaccine? they don't want to take it. How's that going to work with your diversity initiatives? I'm not saying that you shouldn't take the vaccine. These are questions that have to be answered, right? Someone has to ask these questions because again, Diesel Bomber, you are absolutely right, man. Like, that's gonna be a problem for many people, and I know Muslims who refuse to take the freaking vaccine, and there's nothing that you can say that's gonna actually convince them. Are you gonna tell those people to not go to school? You gonna tell that Syrian refugee who left a war-torn country, you can't go to school because you won't get a damn shot? You sure about that? You sure that's going to go over well politically, long term? You sure the vaccine isn't available to more privileged communities over those communities anyways? And maybe that's why there's some hesitancy. That those people think that the vaccine supply that they're getting is bad because they're always the last ones fucking getting it. Just asking questions. By the way, suppose some of your alumni donors are anti-vaxxers. Now what? I got the first round of the vegan vaccine, by the way. Not telling you not to. Just saying. Just things to think about, right? Just things to think about. Considerations. Let's get into the story here from another one from Pitch News because I want to cover another one here. They're doing great work, man. All right, got another bad cop, no donut for you. Another bad cop, no donut for you here. This is from Pitch News. They do great work. I'm going to leave you a link down to their particular website. They cover a lot of bad cop, a lot of bad judge, a lot of bad politician news in South Carolina. Pitch News from Will Folks. It's from Will Folks. He actually published this particular article on May 6th. Sled probe of Anderson, South Carolina police captain focused on alleged sexual relationship with subordinate. More cop sex drama in the Palmetto State. Published by Will Folks on May 6, 2021. Let's get into the story. And by the way, Mr. Folks, if you see this video, good job. I love your work. A South Carolina law enforcement division investigation into Anderson, South Carolina police captain Mike Akins is focused on an allegedly a South Carolina law enforcement division investigation into Anderson, South Carolina police captain Mike Akins is focused on an allegedly improper sexual relationship with a subordinate. Sources familiar with the inquiry told this news outlet earlier this week. Akins, 51, has worked for the Anderson Police Department for the past 2 decades. In addition to his law enforcement duties, he serves as a public information officer, PIO, for this agency, which serves a city of nearly 27,000 people located approximately 30 miles southwest of Greenville, South Carolina. Akins' boss, Anderson Chief Jim Stewart, forwarded the matter to SLED for investigation on April 28th. He declined to comment on the inquiry, stating that it was the policy of his office to not discuss ongoing personnel matters. Aiken is on administrative leave pending the outcome of the investigation into his alleged conduct. The SLED spokesman, Tommy Crosby, told reporters with the Anderson Independent Mail that the investigation involved Akins' interactions with a federal officer, but he did not elaborate beyond that. So once again, another story, right? Whereas you have cops just all kind of sexual misconduct while in office, and they're gonna get into this particular stuff here. News of this investigation was first reported by Coley Alcorn of Fox, Carolina. Alcorn pressed Stewart and other Anderson city officials for more information about the inquiry, but none was forthcoming. Sex scandals among law enforcement officers are quite common in South Carolina. 2 years ago, this news outlet exclusively uncovered a huge sex scandal at the Malden, South Carolina Police Department, one that quickly morphed into a mainstream media feeding frenzy. As I reported at that time, up to a dozen individuals were implicated in an alleged on-duty sex ring. An on-duty sex ring. I'm going to say that for you one more time. Implicated in an alleged on-duty sex ring, one said to have included multiple sworn law enforcement officers, police department staffers, and a few members of the Malden, South Carolina Fire Department. The participants in this sex ring allegedly engaged in all manner of consensual adult acts with each other on taxpayer time and on public property. So while buildings are burning down, while people need to be rescued, while people need to be helped, while there are dangerous criminals afoot, they're out here having gangbangs. They're out here having glory holes. They're out here doing, oh my God. Listen, South Carolina is a wild place when it comes to law enforcement corruption. No criminal charges were ever filed in connection with the sex ring, although several officers involved in the scandal lost their jobs. Others took positions at neighboring law enforcement agencies. So once again, even though they were fired for misconduct there, just like people have always said, all they do is apply to another agency at a neighboring department. Prior to that, my news outlet was the first to report on nearly all of the major developments related to the sex scandal and related bad behavior that brought down former Greenville County Sheriff Will Lewis. Also, let's not forget the scandal that took down former Union County, South Carolina Sheriff David Taylor last year, the sordid details of which were exclusively reported by this outlet. Or the mess that went down in Chesterfield County in the fall of 2019 involving multiple deputies who allegedly engaged in sexual relations with a drug dealer and who tipped this dealer off about law enforcement activity that could impact his business. Yeah, where do I come down on cop sex? As a libertarian, I have always believed that people should be free to have sex with other consenting adults as they see fit, including sex with other consenting adults within the workplace. While mixing business with pleasure is an inherently combustible proposition, I do not see anything inherently wrong with it, even if those engaging in such behavior are serving in taxpayer-funded positions. Of course, my views regarding consensual promiscuity in the workplace have never extended to taxpayer-funded employees who are on the clock and on government property, especially cops. So it is very interesting to see how Will Folks shifted from news to his personal opinion there. So it went from the first half being kind of like a news story and the bottom half kind of being more like an op-ed. But he's spitting hot fire. This is why I like Will Folks. Because while I know that a firebrand like him and a firebrand like me, we're going to butt heads, the man does good work. The man does excellent work. You know, I may not particularly care for someone like, I don't know, LeBron James, but I can still admit he's a great basketball player. And I may not care for every aspect of Will Folks' personality and his publication, the way they sometimes do things. But I do appreciate their willingness to go at the people in power and not so much the citizen. I appreciate that. If you have a position of power, that appears to be the dividing factor of if Fitz News and Will Folks will go after you. Is if you are in a position of power. What law enforcement officers choose to do with other consenting adults on their own time and in the privacy of their own homes is none of our business. But when they are on the clock and come to work, their job is to protect and serve, not sexually service each other. I wrote in response to the Malden scandal. So once again, I am very impressed with what Will Folks is doing with this publication, and I'm very impressed with what Fitz News has done in general. But it's another story where you are seeing so much misconduct within law enforcement that people weren't discussing before. And what it took was people like myself, Will Folks, others, the Nerve with Rick Brundrett, the State House Report, many others. I mean, other independent news media outlets who were sounding the fucking alarm. Will Folks was sued, or at least threatened to be sued so many times. And most every time it's just because he was saying things that people didn't like. Because he's a muckraker. That's what he does. He's an actual journalist. So even though I may not care for every aspect of his personality, I do respect what the man does. So to Will Folks and to Fitz News, I salute you. And I'll keep covering your articles if you keep putting them out, baby. Good work. Yeah, me and Will Folks, we didn't get along the first time, but I was but again, I can still admit when somebody when somebody is still a great journalist. I can still admit when someone's a great journalist. So it's gonna be another story. I'm gonna cover one more from Fitz News because this one is gonna be a pretty wild one. You're gonna want to see this one. All right, so let's go ahead and read one more comment here. But Diesel Bomber, laugh out loud. They must have Viagra in the water over there. Yeah, absolutely. This one's gonna be a wild one. This one's gonna be a fucking wild one, man. Oh my God. Get ready for this one, man. Get ready for this one. This is gonna be a fucking wild one here. All right. Here's another one for the Corrupted Files from Fitz News. South Carolina town councilman accused of sexually assaulting minor girl while she was sleeping. This is going to be fucking wild, man. All right, this is published on May 5th, 2021 by Mandy Matney, who is becoming one of my favorite journalists from Fitz News. Fitz News is a great publication. I have a link to the actual story in the description. You should really consider supporting them because they cover mostly stories about corruption with officials in terms of politicians, judges, and cops. They go after people in power, and I do appreciate it. But it's a freaking wild story. A town councilman doing something like this. An Allendale, South Carolina town councilman was arrested by agents of the South Carolina State Law Enforcement Division, or SLED, and charged with a child sex crime this week. Earl Morrell Jr., 54, was charged with second-degree criminal sexual conduct with a minor. According to the arrest warrant, Morrell sexually assaulted a girl under the age of 16 while she was asleep between March 18th and March 21st. Specifically, he repeatedly groped her vaginal area, subsequently penetrating her with his penis while she was sleeping, the arrest warrant said. Holy smokes, man. Imagine for a second, you're a town councilman. Someone voted for this man. Listen, this man can pass local ordinances. He votes on ordinances and laws. He has power. And he did it multiple times. Oh, it's so disgusting. SLED agents investigated the incident at the request of the Allendale Police Department. Morrow was booked at the Allendale County Detention Center. The 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office will prosecute the case. Morrow is not the first Allendale elected official who was arrested in recent years. In 2019, former town administrator Harold DeWayne Ennis Jr. and administrative assistant Cheryl Mole pleaded guilty to stealing federal funds. Morrow is at least the third elected official in South Carolina who was arrested on child sex charges in the last 9 months. I'm going to read that. I'm going to highlight that, man. Because Fitz News, they do a great, fantastic job with this. I'm going to read that for you one more time to make you understand how fucked up South Carolina is and to let you understand the reason why the state that I come from, because I spent more than 30 years there, the reason why I, as a journalist from that state, have been screaming about that place for so long, trying to get the federal government's attention for so long about that state, to do a fucking full audit of the entire goddamn state, every politician, every cop, every judge. I'm going to read to you this statement one more goddamn time. Okay? All right? Morrow is at least the third elected official. Morrow is at least the third elected official in South Carolina who was arrested on child sex charges in the last 9 months. Not last year. Months. In September, former Bamberg County Councilman Carrie Trent Kennard was arrested and charged with multiple child sex crimes. Kennard is facing 10 child sex crimes charges in Bamberg and Jasper counties, as well as 2 federal gun charges. In March, former Florence County School District 5 Chairman Christopher Garrett Marsh was arrested on multiple child sex charges. According to South Carolina law, Morrow doesn't have to resign from his position as a town councilman until he's indicted. Morrow faces up to 20 years in prison for the charge. So he does not have to step down until he's officially indicted, so he can still be making wait a minute. This man still has a goddamn vote. This man still, you shouldn't even be out of fucking prison. I mean, not prison, but jail right now. You shouldn't even be out of the lockup right now. But you can still make legislative decisions for that town. You can still. We are living in clown world right now. This is fucking clown world. This is clown world. It's clown world when you tell me that a man who was fucking arrested by the highest law enforcement division in the whole goddamn state of South Carolina, right? But he still has a vote. But you want to tell me why felons shouldn't be able to vote for their own president when they're paying goddamn taxes? You want the people of Bamberg, South Carolina, to pay taxes to this motherfucker here? No, not Bamberg, Allendale. You want people of Allendale to pay taxes to this motherfucker here? This bastards. See, this is why I love Fitz News. This is why I love people who hate the boot. Because shit like this, it's not just insulting. It makes you realize why the founding fathers coming up with the fucking Second Amendment, why it was a goddamn ingenious idea. Unbelievable. Your children can't even sleep in their fucking bed at night without your own councilman. God damn. God damn. I told you South Carolina's fucked up, man. These Obama says that's just fucked up. It's evidence that those guys have small dicks, though. I tell you what, I slide it in and my woman is sleeping. She always wakes up. Damn, these Lord, I don't know. I'm gonna leave that one alone. Oh Lord, I got smoked that one, man. 420 smoke if you got him, man. All right. Let's get into some more news. Let's get into some more news, man. Lord have mercy. Oh my gosh. There was some wild stories out here today, man. But there's an update to a story that I want to cover. You remember the Adam Toledo story that I covered when I said that the prosecutor said something that was stupid, that he was wrong about it? And remember all the bootlickers say, "Oh no, they was wrong about it." I was absolutely right because the prosecutor himself is actually apologizing here. So we're gonna get into that story. Before I get into it though, I want to make sure I get me some good smoke down because I know that sometimes I'll lose my temper. Yeah, I don't want to be that guy today. I want to be chill today, you know? Don't want to be angry devil's advocate all the time. Sometimes I want to be chill, you know? And I know bootlickers are going to try me. They always do. Because they know I hate bootlickers. They know that. They realize that. And that's why they always pick me to fuck with. Because I hate bootlicking. I don't. There's a difference between liking your government and bootlicking. Like, for example, you can like the way, government operates without loving the government. I can like a system, right? But not advocate for it. I can like the fact that some people kill goddamn pedophiles. Should that be the fucking law? Should people just randomly kill people because they think that they're fucking pedophiles? Of course not. Doesn't mean I wouldn't necessarily like that though. Not that I would act on it. Not that I would act on it. Only in video games. All right. Let's get into this one. All right, we got another bad cop. No, doing that for you. I covered this story about Adam Toledo, about the Chicago prosecutor who said that Adam Toledo appeared to have a gun in his hand, and that prosecutor was absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong, right? Top Chicago prosecutor apologizes for false Toledo gun claim. Chicago's top prosecutor has apologized because an attorney who works under her implied in court that 13-year-old Adam Toledo was holding a gun when a police officer fatally shot him. It's published by ABC News by Don Babwin of the Associated Press on May 5th, 2021. Let's get into it. Chicago's top prosecutor apologized Wednesday because an attorney who works under her implied in court that 13-year-old Adam Toledo was holding a gun when the police officer fatally shot him. And she acknowledged that neither she nor anyone in her office tried to clear up the matter until right before a video was released showing that that wasn't actually the case. The Cook County State Attorney's office came under fire after the April 15th release of body camera video showing that Toledo either dropped or tossed a gun less than a second before Officer Eric Stillman shot and killed him early on March 29th. Days earlier, a prosecutor from that office implied during a hearing for the 21-year-old who was with Adam Toledo that morning, Ruben Roman, that Toledo was holding a gun when Stillman shot him. That wasn't true, and the video evidence even showed that wasn't true. And I remember going over that particular still, and I want to see if I can find a still of that. I want to see real quick and show people Adam Toledo still. I want to show you this because the prosecutor, again, they actually showed it. And I'm gonna open this a new tab. Open this image. So right here, now I just want to see the image. I don't want to see the whole article here. Yeah, right here. If you look, he doesn't have a gun in his hand right there. And this is at the moment that the officer just starts opening fire. There's no gun here. There's no gun there. There's no gun in his hand right there. And there's people out there. Let's not call them bootlickers. Let's not give them the benefit of the doubt at this point. They're not just bootlickers. They're fucking racist. People who see that this kid is Hispanic and they want to justify his freaking murder. Racist. That's what people who justify what happened to Adam freaking Toledo is. They are racist. You know, and I have to laugh at that because I'm thinking to myself, for the longest time, we didn't have camera. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have these mandates for body camera footage. So the question becomes and just to give you a little bit of a heads up, I was a combat soldier and I've seen a lot of death in my life, and I've seen death before I even joined the Army. I laugh at grim things. And the reason why I have to kind of laugh at myself is I'm thinking to myself, how many people have been murdered? Because our technology just wasn't advanced enough for that time. How many people were gunned down by cops, choked out by cops, kneeled on by cops, lied on by cops, framed by cops, raped by cops? And because our technology wasn't maybe a decade sooner, you know, they get away with it. Would you even know who George Floyd was if it wasn't for that video? That's my question. Let's get back to the article here. The tragedy of the death of 13-year-old boy has been clouded by the confusion and frustration my office has caused, and for this I apologize. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox said a statement announcing the findings of an internal review of her erroneous statement in court during Roman's April 10th hearing. In a document that was presented to the court concerning the charges against him: gun possession, reckless discharge, and child endangerment. Assistant State Attorney James Murphy didn't specifically say that Adam Toledo was holding a gun when he was shot, but he clearly implied it. Toledo has a gun in his right hand, Murphy told the judge. The officer fired one shot, striking him in the chest. The gun that the victim was holding landed against the fence a few feet away. So once again, I want the bootlickers and the racists out there to notice a pattern here. They said Adam Toledo had a gun in his hand, even though the video shows that wasn't the case. And I want you to remind you of something, right? I want to remind you something. This is for all the Tim Pool fans, the fans of the racists, which also makes them racist. But Ahmaud Arbery, Hammer. I want to show you, right, how far these lies go. Ahmaud Arbery was murdered by two white men in Georgia, and this is what sparked a lot of racial unrest in this country, because people claim that Ahmaud Arbery was breaking into a house. He had a hammer on, he had boots, and coming to find out, those are all lies. Ahmaud Arbery, this is from The Independent. Ahmaud Arbery, neo-Nazis spreading racist and false claims online about black shooting victims, says analysts. White supremacists attempted to create an alternate narrative, experts conclude. Far-right and neo-Nazi groups are spreading racist and false claims about a black jogger who was fatally shot in Georgia to promote their agendas on social media platforms, according to organizations that monitor online extremist activity. Right. Some of the online posts, which include racist language, memes, and graphics, claim that Arbery was carrying a hammer and wearing boots when he was killed, as the groups tried to create false narratives about his death, analysts said. In the video, Arbery is wearing a white t-shirt, shorts, and running shoes. Security footage shows a man in similar clothing who is believed to be Arbery entering a house under construction just before the shooting. The owner of the property has said nothing was stolen from the site. The most remarkable finding is that an alternate narrative was created, most notably that Arbery was carrying a hammer and wearing Timberland boots. Two claims which CCTV footage and mainstream media reporting does not support. CCTV footage, right? Again, it was unbelievable. I saw these memes. I saw these claims. It was all bullshit, right? So it's the same thing with the Adam Toledo story. Same thing. People who will create an alternate reality to fit a fucking narrative. And they want to sit there and pretend like it's not because this kid was Hispanic. And because it was an officer who killed him. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's a sad state of affairs that we find ourselves in this country, man. It's a sad state of affairs. All right, that's another edit done, man. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I necessarily want to edit the edits. Actually, I just want to just put them out there. You know, I don't know, but it'd be quicker. But I mean, I do want to edit to kind of like speed them up a little bit, take out some of the dead empty space, and also some of the stuttering. It kind of corrects it a little bit. So, but yeah, let's get into some more stories here. I have a few more stories I want to cover, man. I have a few more stories that I want to cover. There's one story that I saw that just, it really, really got my gillets, man. It really, really got my gillets. It got my gillets, guys. You hear me? I saw this one story and it tickled my jollies. It tickled my jollies. Ah, man. So, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good one. All right, so here's one for the Corrupted Files. A teacher on leave at Alaska school for insensitive George Floyd comments, officials say. This is from the Sacramento Bee. So let's get into what the teacher said. A high school teacher in Alaska has been put on administrative leave after a video showed her telling a class that George Floyd would still be alive if he had complied with police orders. So comply or die, basically. Comply or die. I want to see this video. I'm tickled. I am ecstatic to see this video. I want to listen. This video is gonna be my spirit animal. If it is what they say it is.
Black people make up 13% of the population. So that is a disproportionate number, but it's a fact. And so when the cops run up on a robbery. They don't know who's who in the situation.
Wow.
And most of the time.
Wait a minute. Did you hear that? Did she just start off with the 13% shit? 13%, but the 3% of. Did she start off with that? Wait a minute. Tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me I'm not fucking crazy. Did you hear that? Wait a minute. Tell me I'm not fucking crazy.
Black people make up 13% of the population. So that is a disproportionate number, but it's a fact. And so when the cops run up on a robbery, they don't know who's who in the situation. And most of the time, they're going to arrest everybody and sort it out at the station.
What?
Unless somebody's obviously hurt, if somebody's shot
what?
Or...
So you run up on a situation, right? And you don't know who's guilty, so you just arrest everybody? What? So you first start off with the whole, racist shit. 13% of the population, or 50%, but you are certain percent of the goddamn crime. White racists always say this shit about black people, always, or they're mentioning like freaking Chicago, right? Mind you, she is talking to high school students. Staff, family members like this. She is talking to high school students like this.
Stabbed and laying on the ground, of course they're going to call the ambulance and try to see, help that person while they gather up everybody else. Yes, Ada. There's been a lot of shootings with people of color. The reason why you don't hear about it, though, is because it doesn't fit that angry white male narrative that the media wants. The shooter at the...
Wait a minute. People talk about shootings with people of color all the time. I mean, I was just on news sites and I just saw that. What are you talking about? Listen, when people say that people on the right and Republicans, the people who are pro-cop, are fucking tone deaf, this is what we mean. And yes, she's probably a fucking Republican. Alaska is a red state. It's not a blue state, it's a red state. I've been there. Red state. Don't even try it. Don't even try it. It's a red state. Talking like this, who do you think she voted for? Joe Biden or Donald Trump? Who do you think she voted for? Joe Biden or Donald Trump? Just answer honestly. Look at where. Listen, this actually happened in Alaska. Let's go look at how Alaska went. Let's just play some probability numbers here, right? Alaska voted for Trump. Let's go to that in real quick. Okay, presidential election. How did Alaska go? Yeah, Alaska went for Trump in November 3rd, 2020, got 3 electoral votes. He won the popular vote. Yeah, he won that one. Okay. So then, yeah, listen. The final prediction in the general election, everybody predicted it was gonna be red pretty much, except for one guy, for one source, right? So Alaska has been red for quite some time. So I know this teacher probably is not a Democrat saying shit like this. Because if you showed up to a Democratic National Convention talking like this, or any Democrat stronghold with any amount of people of color talking like this, you would get your fucking ass beat. Okay? But listen to how this woman was talking.
The shooter in Alabama with his son at the military base was a black man and a black son. They shot at the soldiers on the military base. Okay, this last, there was one.
Mind you, they're talking about police interactions with the cops. What does that have to do with citizens shooting each other? You're like, imagine for a second, right? I mentioned malpractice with military medics, and you said, well, hospitals have malpractice too. I understand that, but those hospitals can be privately owned. I'm paying my fucking taxes on the military medic. So if the medics are killing people, that's a goddamn problem. And I'm a combat veteran fucking saying that. Okay? What does citizens shooting each other have to do with cops murdering citizens? Mind you, she's talking to high school students, parents, staff, and family members like this.
One just maybe 2 weeks ago, the person was Hispanic. There was another one where the person was of Middle Eastern descent. So it's not just crazy white men who are out, or crazy white boys who are out shooting up things. It is crazy people. They do have a screw loose.
No one's saying it's just crazy white people doing it. No one's saying that. Well, and if they are, they're an idiot. It's not just crazy white people shooting up people. However, if we're just keeping it a buck here, you blame us for a lot of things when you first start off your damn video. When it comes to mass shootings, it's not us doing it. Especially not recently. Especially not recently. Okay. But even if you were, you're talking about police interactions with citizens, not citizens with citizens. Well, police are freaking citizens too. They're citizens, but they have taken a position of power. They are now a branch, an arm of the government. They are not the same as your common grandma. They are not the same as little freaking Timmy riding his bike down the goddamn street. They are not the same as Ted the goddamn plumber. They are not the same as Nancy the goddamn housewife. It's not the same. Do not treat it as such. But let's just speed ahead. I guarantee you this is gonna get worse.
Lucky. Okay. It's very, very difficult to hit a moving target in a situation where you're not allowed to steady yourself and take a good deep breath. Hang on, Aiden, hang on. When you're hunting, even if the animal's running. So
again, even when it comes to police shootings, she's justifying it. I sped ahead a whole 3, 4, 5 minutes. Well, 2, 3 minutes maybe. I'm not sure. But you're already getting into the goddamn explaining. She's explaining away goddamn murders. And there's 15 minutes of this shit. 15 minutes, 39 seconds of this shit. I've heard just doing this.
Has a certain skin color. It shouldn't make any difference. Police should be trained not to judge people based on those factors. And if someone has their pants around their knees, doesn't mean that they're a criminal. Honestly, we have a lot more white-collar crime than we have blue-collar crime in this country, but the police aren't prosecuting them. So it's just something, I don't know who's in your classroom right now, but I just wanted to say that not everybody thinks that if you look like, and even the stereotype of calling someone a quote-unquote thug isn't particularly appropriate, because a thug has
lived in the South, who was born and raised in the South, who experienced racism firsthand, even when I was a child, even when I was was a child. And so some of the things that you are saying, I feel like you are very uneducated on, and I don't feel like that you are able to address these things that are going on in the world today, especially correctly, because you have a different perception of what is going on.
Wow.
You have a different perception and outlook on the George Floyd case, and any other thing that you said. When you stated that a cop should not, like, they're in the heat of the moment, they are trained to know what is a gun and
Exactly.
what is a taser.
I'm not going to be, this is a class.
So she was trying to even defend what happened to Dante Wright. She was trying to defend again. You saw in multiple cases when it came to George Floyd, when it came to explain away why police start just arresting people, even the whole 13% of the population, 50% of the crime crap, which is by the way not true if you actually break down the goddamn numbers, but whatever. It's very interesting. You're seeing in multiple ways in which she's reverting back to the white racism that we have become so accustomed to. And when one of her students responds to her, like many black Americans would actually respond to her, I guarantee you she's gonna shut down like a fucking Karen. Watch.
And you're exactly right. It is a class. It is a class. And this is where it should stop. You should stop this conversation. Period.
Wow.
Baby,
Wow. That is, I am taking, again, I want to quote something that she said in the video here. I'm an old white lady, and if the cops came up to me and said, ma'am, put your hands behind your back, you're going to jail. I'm putting my hands behind my back. She said, wow. Again, I want you to hear some of the things that she actually said. Look at how you guys are dressed. You're dressed nicely. She said, you don't look like thugs. You don't have your pants down around your knees. Later on in the video, a parent interrupted the class and said that she disagreed with the conversation in whole. I feel like this whole, like this is something that, like Miss Gardner, I don't feel like you're really able to address with you being a white woman. I am a woman of color, the parent said. Wow. So a parent was the one that broke this up, and she was talking to high school children. What the fuck? Yo. This was a high school. Imagine if your children were in that fucking I am just amazed. I am just astonished. Wow. I want to hear some more of this bravery.
And the guy who kicked the girl in the head, I'm sure he's going to be trying to get out of that and talking. And we're going to know exactly what it was all about. Them getting by the feeling. Rarely, I said. You hardly ever, I said. I didn't say never. Going into a business or a school and shooting it up. Yes. Sorry?
That's just.
You can stand there and you can go. You know what I mean?
I can't.
That's that fast.
I can't do no more of this, man. That's just. If she don't lose her job, if she don't on leave, no, baby, you need to lose your job. You need to lose your whole job. What in the fuck? Listen, I want you to understand something, right? This chick was addressing a high school class. I think I'm just let the goddamn video play. I think I'm just gonna let it play. I'm gonna let it play a little bit. Right about here.
girls were black. The only white person there was the cop. And he's going to be trying to get out of that by the feelings. Her pinned up against a car. In a situation where it's my life or your life, you better believe. And you're the one trying to kill me. I'm voting for me. Now, if I'm in a room here with all of you guys and something happens in the school, which I don't think it ever will, that's a different story. I'm going to protect you guys. I can't hear you. What? What would you have done?
Yeah, but he had a gun.
He had a knife.
I mean, a knife to shoot somebody.
But he shot her.
But he got up on this thing or this thing or two.
They shot her in the leg. He shot her in the chest.
Okay, so here, you are a hunter, right? You know how hard it is to shoot a moving animal.
I actually shot her.
Well, you were lucky.
Probably from the end of the school to here, I just
Okay.
shot her.
It's very, very difficult to hit a moving target in a situation where you're not allowed to steady yourself and take a good deep breath. Hang on, Aiden, hang on. When you're hunting, even if the animal's running away, you can stand there and you can go. You know what I mean? A cop is there. That's that fast. He's got to make a decision. He can't wait. He can't go, wait a minute, do I have my taser? Do I have my gun? Wait a minute, Mom, get my taser out. Okay,
Absolutely
let me make
not.
sure I'm close enough so that I can taser.
I'm about to say something.
He doesn't have that kind of time. And while he's doing all of that, the other girl's getting stabbed. And the girl is going for her neck.
Wow.
He cut one of those big major veins, arteries in the neck.
That's a high school class. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a high school class. What is life right now, man? What is fucking life right now? Unbelievable. Unfucking believable. All right, that's going to be it for the Pitchfork Podcast, man. That's all I can tolerate for today. All right, guys. Thank you, Diesel Bomber, D and Cosca, everyone else who actually joined in. Love you all. Horns up. Peace out. Good night and good luck. Bitches be crazy, yo.